Hi, Leanne. Hi, Leanne. I just thought we could do a quick mic check. Can you hear me?
Yes, good morning.
Morning.
How are you doing today?
Well, and yourself. So Martin, excuse the dog. Martin will be facilitating the session today, and he will introduce you briefly, and then you can introduce your team. I'm going to let everyone in just a moment, and then we can kick off.
Happiness. Thanks, Phil. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning, morning.
Good morning, everybody.
Caroline, you just give me a heads up when we can commence.
I think let's give it one more minute for some of the light stragglers to join, and then we can kick off.
Happiness. Mute.
Martin, when you're ready, we can kick off.
Happiness. Thank you, Caroline. Before we start, I just want to draw everyone's attention to the recording message. So the meeting is being recorded, and for record purposes, by participating, you consent to the recording thereof. Okay. I'd like to highlight as well the competition law conflict, right? So this meeting is held with no intent to collude or engage in any matter that might contravene competition law. Conflicts of interest must be declared, and if required, members recuse themselves either before or during the meeting as and when they become apparent. Happiness. Good morning. My name is Martin Banda. I am a member of the Summit Transformation Standing Committee and would like to welcome everyone to this morning's Summit Transformation Forum. Just a few admin points as well. This is a Teams meeting, and as such, we ask that your video is turned off, unless you're speaking, of course, just for the bandwidth. Okay. And if you need to ask questions, just put your hands up and we'll alert you to speak. Cool. I'm really looking forward to today's forum and presentations. And first up, we've got the Yes for Youth, how saying yes to youth employment can transform the medtech sector. SAMED and Yes have partnered to support youth development in the health sector, and through the Yes Turnkey Solution implementation partner model, business can bolster South Africa's health sector, create employment for youth, and receive BBB level ups on the scorecard. We are certain that the collaboration will benefit many young job seekers and build sustainable transformation throughout the sector. Today, the Yes team, led by acting Yes for Youth CEO Leanne Emery, will tell us more about the Yes and about the program. Leanne, over to you.
Thanks so much. May I share my presentation?
Yes, Leanne, you're more than welcome to.
Okay, let me do that. Is everybody able to see my screen?
It's now up.
Perfect. Thank you so much for the introduction, Martin. It's wonderful to be here and to speak to your members. We at Yes, there's 3 of us here today. My name is Leanne. I'm the acting co-CEO at Yes. With me is Farai, who is our IP and youth stream lead, and Mark from our BD team. So between us, we'll also try and make sure that if you have any questions as we go along and you pop them into the chat, I'm just going to ask my team if they wouldn't mind just checking the chat group throughout the presentation. So it's wonderful to be here today. We are excited to be partnering with SAMID, and really just our missions so aligned. You know, we were speaking to the SAMID team around what we do at Yes, and the fact that SAMID is really about creating a sustainable, ethical, and transformed medical technology industry. And so it was just a natural partnership really that formed from there. I'm sure I don't have to tell anybody about some of the latest youth employment statistics. We'll get some more statistics later this afternoon, this morning actually, at I think 11, the Q2 results will be released, but the Q1 release showed the worst unemployment stats in SA history. Around 58% of young people are unemployed. And if you're looking at the age bracket between 15 and 24, it's closer on 75%. So South Africa obviously faces just still today the most unbelievable structural inequality and spatial inequality. And so without interventions, this experience trap that young people face is unlikely to be broken. And that's why Yes is here. That's why we exist, is because of this phrase that we hear all the time. I can't get a job without experience, and I can't get experience without a job. And that is 8 million young people in South Africa. Yes is a business-led NPO. We collaborate with other industry players, but we are 100% private sector led. And how we work is we are trying to create 12-month work opportunities for young people at scale. So this breaks that experience trap, and this gets a young person after the year a CV and a reference letter. And this, since we are in Women's Month, this doubles the likelihood of employment for a woman, and also for any young person triples the likelihood of a callback. And businesses that invest in youth jobs with Yes will receive 1 or 2 levels up on their BEE scorecard. So to date, in our 137 weeks of operation, we have, with our just under 1,600 partner companies, created over 60,000 work opportunities for young people. This equates to 3.4 billion rand back into the economy. And if we look at the young people that work with Yes, around 85% of our Yes youth are coming from grant recipient households, and about 90% have dependents. So this salary is not just a paycheck, it's an immediate ripple effect across communities and families, and that is just an immediate economic cascade. And we, at the moment, our absorption stats are between 30 to 40%. And very excitingly, we've received some stats around young people that leave the program and start their own businesses. And we've seen around 17% of our Yes youth leave the Yes program and start their own businesses. Over 600 BEE level ups have been awarded to businesses. And part of our program, and I will speak to you about it a bit later, is our digital delivery system. So every young person that enters the program, they have a smartphone. They get given a smartphone, and there's 0 rated training apps. And to date, we've logged over 10 million. It's now this morning close to 10 million learning minutes on these Yes smartphones. So we can see that not only are these young people getting a work experience, but they are engaging, learning, and improving as they go along through the program. So Yes has a proven track record. As I mentioned earlier, we have over 1,600 partners, and these are across sectors. So we have from the medtech industry to the manufacturing industry, finance, every industry and every size business is able to participate in Yes. Doesn't matter whether you're a large, small, medium-sized business, Yes is a solution for you if you want to create opportunities for young people while gaining 1 or 2 levels up on your BEE scorecard. There's just some testimonials from some of our happy clients. And for us, one of the exciting things that we're seeing is that we have clients coming into the 2nd, 3rd, 4th program in a row. We have 10 clients that are already in their 4th program, which just shows how beautifully the Yes program works. So yeah, why Yes and SAMED? I think I mentioned it earlier, it was just an absolutely natural fit. And we are so happy to be here speaking to you at your Transformation Forum. We already have 24 SAMED members that are a part of the Yes program, and they've created over 1,000 work opportunities to date. And through this partnership and this meeting of minds, we are hoping that we'll be able to unlock thousands more opportunities for youth, while at the same time capacitating the medical sector. And part of that is our really unique implementation partner model, which Farai will speak to you a little bit later. But we are really excited to be unlocking more and more opportunities with you and your members. So how does Yes work? So you go onto our website, which is www.yesforyouth.co.za, and then you will go onto our For Business page, and then there's 3 numbers that the calculator asks you to put in. It's your revenue, your impact, and your headcount. You put these 3 numbers in, and then the calculator will give you a number. So that number is how many youth lives you need to change in order to move up 1, 1.5, or 2 levels on your BEE scorecard. So if you meet your Yes target and you absorb 2.5% of your Yes youth, you move up 1 BEE level. If you achieve 1.5% and absorb 5%, that's 1 BEE level up plus 3 points. And if you double your Yes target and absorb 5% of your youth, then you get 2 levels up. And really, that's how simple it is. You just go onto our calculator, see how many youth lives you need to change, and then we will help you through the process. And there's a number of ways that you can place these youth, which Farai can speak you through in a little bit. So beyond this BEE benefit, Yes is about bringing fresh ideas and skills into your business. It allows you, if you are using our internal model, it allows you to try out a youth cohort on a fixed term contract, select the best fit, find those gems, bring them into your businesses. And those who are not the right fit, they are still equipped with a CV and a reference letter that de-risks them as they go into the market. You can build and support SMEs and entrepreneurs through our IP model. Obviously, sitting in the situation that we are at the moment as South Africans, we cannot leave another generation behind. If we do not create future taxpayers, if we do not get young people included into the economy, we will not have future clients, we will not have a country. So this Yes program allows you the opportunity to collaborate with so many other businesses, join a movement, and become a driver of economic opportunity in South Africa. So to give you a little bit more detail in terms of how Yes actually works in the different models, I'm going to hand over to my colleague Farai Mabawa, who will speak to you a little bit about the different ways that you can participate in Yes and our unique IP model, which we thought is very exciting for the medtech sector because it allows you the opportunity to capacitate other medical companies as well and SMEs. So Farai, can I hand over to you?
Perfect. Thanks, Lee, and thank you very much for sharing the intro of Yes and the impact that we have been able to make in such a short amount of time. So colleagues, I'm really excited to talk to you about how YES works. And I think, like Lee has said, you'll really find excitement in how the medtech sector has been able to empower our healthcare system and how it's been able to strengthen our healthcare system in SA. So YES has got 3 models of operation. Option 1 is to place youth inside your business. Option 2 is to place youth at an existing YES partner. And option 3 is to host youth at a YES hub where you can access ED spend. Now, just in terms of the placement of YES youth and the percentages thus far, we often find that option 1 accounts for about 70% of YES placements, option 2 accounts for about 29% of YES placements, and option 1 about 1%. And we keep on growing these models to ensure that we can create as diverse placements for youth as possible that are able to not only capacitate and empower youth, but also empower the communities that they come from. So Lee, on to the next slide. Great. So what I'm going to talk you through is the implementation partner model. And for me, this is really my favorite model because I believe it's where significant impact happens. When we're talking about implementation partners, these are partners who have been vetted extensively by YES. They've been vetted for their financial sustainability. They've been vetted for the types of jobs they can create, the quality of these jobs and the quality of supervision, and also vetted for their administrative compliance, because it is important that these partners can report to YES, to the sponsor, and can ensure that they're providing youth with quality work experience. How the partner model works is that it is a turnkey solution for corporates. So very often corporates have got a huge target for YES youth and don't necessarily have the capacity to house these youth internally. Our implementation partner model is a turnkey solution for clients where the recruitment of youth, the placement of youth, collecting their documentation, providing them with work experience, supervising the youth and their growth, and facilitating absorption. All of those critical elements of the YES journey are done by the implementation partner. We have got 31 incredible partners across 10 different industries, ranging from digital to healthcare to finance, education, agriculture, manufacturing, and marketing. And we monitor and score these partners each month to ensure that as YES, we're keeping track of the sort of work experience they are providing youth with. And we report this to the client so that you always know what is happening with your YES youth cohort. So on the next slide, I'm going to talk you through different IPs who are aligned to Summit. And we've got 2 really great healthcare partners that I'm excited to present to you about. The first is Youth Health Africa. And Youth Health Africa is the youth arm of the Aurum Institute. And I'm sure for those of you who have heard of Aurum, they're a really big player within the HIV and TB space. And youth who work for Youth Health Africa work in entry-level healthcare jobs as lay counselors, HIV self-screeners, researching, filing clerks, data capturers, community tracers. These are important roles within the clinics. Because youth are working in entry-level healthcare jobs, they gain critical skills that are very important for the healthcare industry. And Youth Health Africa places youth across various provinces. Interestingly enough, with the healthcare space, and many of you on the call would know this, but your organizations that are focusing on HIV are usually allocated districts by CDC and by PEPFAR. Youth Health Africa ensures that they're placing youth into these districts where there's a high level of people living with HIV, and youth are placed into clinics. So therefore, they're doing health system strengthening work in supporting the Department of Health in reaching targets and ensuring that we can reach the 95 targets, testing our population and linking people to treatment. So these are one of the partners that we've got really doing fantastic work. The other partner we've got is Witkoppen Clinic. And many of you have seen the news about how Witkoppen Clinic has been commended for doing incredible work with the COVID-19 vaccine rollout. Witkoppen Clinic is a nonprofit and they provide comprehensive healthcare and social welfare services. Youth who are placed with Witkoppen Clinic also work in entry-level roles as patient trackers, administrative assistants, and lay counselors. This is focused on TB screening and HIV as well. Youth gain similar skills within Youth Health Africa that is focused on skills that are pertinent to the healthcare industry, and Witkoppen operates primarily within Gauteng. So these are two really great partners who we have on board. Of course, SAMED members do have the option that should you have your own partners, you're welcome to pick option 1, which is placing youth internally. And that is where you can place youth either within your business or within partners who you can work with. So it could be other health implementers who you prefer to work with. Should you want to go the implementation partner model route, these are partners who YES is vetted and we work with them extensively for placements. If I'm not mistaken, Witkoppen currently has a cohort of about 50 youth doing incredible work within the 4 Ways Witkoppen area, and Youth Health Africa has a cohort of about 500 youth ranging from KZN to the Eastern Cape to Limpopo to here in Gauteng as well. So we definitely have great partners able to ensure that there's significant impact within communities. Now, a key component of the YES program is the YES smartphones. And I'm excited to talk to you about the smartphones because having worked in the healthcare industry myself, I saw the importance of having a smartphone within a clinic setting. Now, the YES smartphones are given to every YES youth, and those phones are preloaded with zero-rated learning apps, 2 of them. One is called YES for Youth, one is called YES Life. YES Life requires youth to complete surveys on a weekly and monthly basis that is asking them questions about their work experience. Are you being valued within the workplace? Are you being appreciated? Does your supervisor provide you with guidance? The answers to those questions allow YES to fulfill our gazetted monitoring and evaluation functionality. The other app, which is YES for Youth, is preloaded with 25 work readiness modules, ranging from communication to teamwork to planning your future. And these are critical modules to ensure that not only do young people gain work experience on the ground, that work experience is coupled with content and lessons to help them to grow and to develop within their careers. Now, to date, we've achieved, like Leanne said this morning, over 10 million learning minutes on these apps, which is just proof of how accessible these apps are. Whatever industry the youth are in, they can access their YES phone and learn. And we understand that within different industries, your time for learning may be limited, and hence it's important that youth can always learn in real time, and YES can monitor and evaluate in real time as well. Content for our YES Youth modules has been created by YES, by the World Bank, and by behavioral economists as well, where we're looking at instilling behavioral shifts in our YES Youth. We look at how do we have confidence in the workplace? How do we encourage youth to develop a growth mindset? We look at stress and emotional management. Youth learn about better financial planning. They learn effective communication skills, and they learn how to be safe online. One other element that is really important for this discussion with SAMED members is how handy the smartphone is within a healthcare setting. During my time at the Aurum Institute, we placed a number of youth in clinics, and clinics, of course, don't often have budget to be able to capacitate their staff or their facilities as they would like to. And so, YES Youth placed in clinics like Davidson, Maine, for example, would use their YES phone to fulfill contact tracing work. The clinics would load these phones with airtime and data. Youth would complete their reports on the phones. They would do contact tracing, calling individuals on these phones. And it just proved that particularly for the healthcare sector, not only is the YES phone critical for enhancing the work experience of these YES youth, it forms a vital part of the work that they do within healthcare. I'm really excited to be able to share such stories with you today to show you the impact that SAMED members can have through partnering with YES, not only to ensure that you're having an impact in the youth and employment landscape, but that you are strengthening South Africa's healthcare system. Thanks, Lee. And over to you, Mark.
Thanks, Mariah.
Morning, everybody. My name is Mark Ashton. I'm part of the business development team at the Youth Employment Service, and I'm going to be taking you through the YES costings and calculations just to give you a sense of what is involved in implementing a YES program. Firstly, just nice to see some familiar names in the attendees and delegates side of things. It's always nice to know that we have some connections with some of you, and some of the people on this call have some experience around Yes. I'm just going to take you through a couple of things, but one of the questions we often get asked from a perspective of contracting is how the Yes implementation partner model works in conjunction with multinationals working in South Africa that don't have the option of expanding their headcount, etc. And it's a technicality, but it's something that's quite important, and something that's key for a lot of the multinationals operating in South Africa. Yes does have a contracting framework which allows you to put youth onto one of the implementation partner payrolls and two-party employment contracts without having them coming on board onto your headcount and expanding your headcount figure. So that's quite an important consideration when you are working with a fixed headcount number. And it's just something I think I'm happy to answer some questions on if you need further requests or have further information about it. The two cool things about Yes that are really important from a implementation perspective. The first thing is that in your first year of participation, your youth can be contracted at any point inside your measurement period. People often are hesitant or slow to adopt Yes under the impression that they'll only get the benefits 12 months down the line. The nice thing about Yes is, due to our good relationship with the DTIC, we have reached an agreement that allows youth participation to be recognized at any time inside your measurement period for your first year of participation. So you'll have a lot of multinationals who will say, look, we're keen to participate in Yes, and we're very keen to get the level up, but do we really have to wait 12 months? And the answer to that is no, you do not. The second nice thing about Yes is, unlike other BBBE elements, the requirement is that you know what your target is and what your commitment is up front. It uses some historical figures, and so you know what you're in for from the word go. And then the absorption figure, at least touched on it already, but the absorption figure is also very low relative to many of the other job creation initiatives out there. So Yes effectively operates with a mathematical formula. To calculate your Yes target, you take your 3-year average net profit after tax, you times by 1.5%, and you divide it by 55,000. Just kind of fun stat, and you can kind of work through this depending on how your profits are calculated. But in many cases, your commitment number is somewhere around about 15 to 30. It's not a massive number, so go and play with that calculator that that Leah's referenced there on the website. You'll find that it's actually a very affordable and very easy to implement program as you go along. So 1.5% of impact divided by 55,000 gives you gives you a Yes target. There's two other calculations. Lee, we just jump one side ahead there. So if you're on the, you've got a headcount target. So if you may, for instance, have very low profits in South Africa, very high revenues, there's a revenue table that you can look at. And if you are, for instance, have very high headcount but very low local profits, then you'll take 1.5% of your total headcount at the end of the last measurement period. That will give you a total. It'll give you 3 different sums and you take the higher of those 3 calculations to be able to go and implement or calculate your Yes target. So this just gives you a sense of what those figures would be, and like I said, it shows that it is actually a very easy and not a particularly difficult implementation in terms of you're not having to recruit 50 or 100 or 200 people. You look at it, you've got 10 million in net profit after tax. You're going to be recruiting 3 youth for 1 level and 6 for two levels. We jump forward, Lee. So one of the questions that you guys will be looking at is, what is my Yes value proposition relative to other elements on the scorecard? Yes is typically much cheaper for organizations than traditional SED implementations, or half the cost for an ESD implementation. The slide can be interpreted in a couple of ways. So I always kind of encourage people to do their calculations from their own side. There'll obviously be different elements on it. But what I do want to touch on here is, nice thing about Yes is that organizations that can't comply with the ownership component can still participate and get Yes recognition. That's quite a big thing for many white-owned businesses or multinationals that can't give up local ownership. And in fact, we've also done an equity equivalent investment program with one of the tech companies. So there's different ways in which you can go and structure your Yes implementation. This just kind of shows you the sliding scale in terms of your yes trade-off in terms of different elements on your scorecard and where yes is most effective. We're happy to share this presentation with you afterwards, but it does just give you a sense of where your yes value proposition lies. I just want to quickly jump and just discuss the sub-minimum requirements, because just talking about the ownership side of things. So if you're a generic entity, you need to reach either achieve a 40% average across the, a minimum of 40% across your priority elements, or a 50% average across the priority elements. So that means that yes is typically very flexible. The only organizations that really can't participate in yes are those that are currently non-compliant, and your EMEs are typically, you would have to go through a verification process. So that's just something to consider there as well. Next slide, please. In terms of yes costings, there's 3 costs associated with yes. The first one being a registration fee based on your annual turnover. So small businesses with less than 10 million get a register for free. And then if you slide upwards, it's capped at 20,000. So you're not having to pay a huge high fixed cost there. Just one of the things that you need to be aware of in respect of yes. Yes is a not-for-profit company. It was actually initially established to administer the yes incentive out of the DTIC. It's not a government initiative. It's not part of the it's not a state-owned entity. It is a not-for-profit company and public benefit organization. So if you're ever looking to get Section 18 certificates on top of your yes registration or yes participation, we can also tick that box as well. And then in terms of your second costing associated with the yes, it is the monitoring evaluation fee, which for I mentioned the yes smartphone that gets incorporated into this. So for your small businesses, it's 1,700 Rand per youth. Just important distinction here, yes defines the monitoring evaluation fee based on your total target. You don't pay the monitoring evaluation fee if you replace a youth. So if your target is 10, you'll pay 10 by 1,700 if you're a small business. And then it scales upwards depending on whether you are...
Can I just disturb you there a bit? I've got a hand here from Tim, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure. Happy to answer.
Tim?
No problem. I'm just looking at, since you made a statement regards we not being a non-profitable organization, so I gather then more than 75% of the beneficiaries is obviously African, and so does that also encounter our SAD with regards to our BE return? So we can get a certificate from you and a letter from you, and that should then count to our SAD on our BE scorecard.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can tick multiple elements of the scorecard through yes. So the yes incentive is one straight, it's a black and white incentive in terms of how many youth you are looking to support. You would have, it's, you know, if your target is 3 for 1 level, 6 for 2 levels, there are SED opportunities. I'll jump to one just now and I'll show you how organizations are integrating yes with enterprise development, supply development, and SED plus the yes recognition. It's actually a very cool project, and a couple of your sector have actually adopted it. But then also, so that's from the BEE side of things, but then also your tax element, which is the Section 18. So it's a public benefit organization. We're very used to drawing up ED agreements, SED agreements, and also Section 18 certificates.
Awesome.
Cool. And then so I mentioned the yes implementation partner models, and Lee, we just jump one slide back quickly. So there, on that slide, you'll see 5,000 Rand per youth is the cost per youth for internal placement. And then if you just jump forward, the 9,700 per youth is for the yes implementation partner model. What happens there is that the implementation partner takes 4,000 Rand to be per youth to effectively be the quasi-employer for the youth for the 12 months. The opportunity, and what happens, it's a fun mechanical thing, but we get the question often, is that the implementation partner doesn't just get a chunk of cash up front, that it gets split into milestones so that they're incentivized to ensure that the youth don't drop off the program and that they deliver a 12-month quality work experience. Faraz already alluded to it, but there is ongoing monitoring and evaluation that happens as part of that process. They ensure that the youth complete their modules. And just kind of touching on my earlier point about the contracting framework, the implementation partner effectively adopts the entire employer risk as part of that process. So, you know, if some corporates love to be involved in their programs, they take a huge amount of interest in their youth. On others simply are doing it as part of their BBBE strategy. They want an arm's length relationship. If somebody takes them to the CCMA, there is no the implementation partner is effectively the responding party, and that is why they will bill this as part of their fee there. Next slide, Lee. Lee, am I going to talk around hubs, hey?
Sorry, I muted myself. Yep.
Okay, cool. So one of the biggest challenges we have in South Africa relates to lack of social mobility and the ability to create jobs where youth actually live. And I mean, you know, it's a very simple example, but we are in fact, this call that I've just come off now, one of the projects that, in fact, some of the Youth Health Africa have been involved in the Richards Bay area, you know, that they are recruiting for 6 positions in the Richards Bay area, and they receive 4,500 applications via an online platform. There is concentrated areas where there's simply no employment being created. And the purpose behind these Yes Hubs is to try and tackle part of that social mobility challenge. You know, it's simply getting to and from an interview, for instance, precludes people being able to actually enter the workforce. So the purpose behind the Yes Hubs is to create new jobs inside of communities where they're going to be, where the youth actually live and can get access to it. So the Yes currently has 3 hubs that it's rolled out across the country. One is in Saldanha, and we'll share some imagery of that shortly. We have one in the Alex Mall, or linked to the Alex Mall, and one in Tembisa, which is in the process of coming back online after the COVID lockdowns. This is just some imagery of it, but it's effectively taking the container model and then plugging in a number of small businesses as part, or micro franchises as part of it. And I mean, there's everything from drone pilot training programs. There's a very cool story there. There's youth that have been doing drone pilot operations in Saldanha, which has been co-funded as part with Transnet. And I think 14 out of the 20 youth are young women. And what's cool is they're getting the opportunity then to go and be absorbed either into Transnet or to go and establish a small business that'll go and support the drone operations as part of the Transnet Enterprise and Supply Development initiatives. But I mean, there's, you know, Lee was at a launch this week as part of the Youth Content Collective. There's 50 youth that have been funded by Ford, where they are doing things like creative arts, photography, and, you know, just as a simple fun reference there, Ford have actually asked their ad agency to work with these 50 youth to give them the work experience. But the opportunity I wanted to share with you guys today is the Blossom Care Solutions. So, and this is just something that's some of you in your industry and some of those people on the call will be aware of it. What is happening here is the manufacturing of biodegradable sanitary pads. These sanitary pads are the model is effectively a micro franchise. So what happens is a corporate will fund the enterprise development setup of one of these micro franchises. It can either be bolted onto a Yes Hub or bolted onto an existing operation. It takes 7 young women into it, and they're taught all the manufacturing processes. And so you get your enterprise development, you can get a supply development element to it as well. And you can then go and donate the pads as part of an offtake agreement for your SED recognition, which ties into Tim's earlier question. And you can tick multiple boxes on your scorecard by integrating Yes from that perspective. So I know there's a video that we're going to be sharing with you shortly. I'm going to hand back to Lee just to play that out, and then happy to field any questions you might have around the Yes costings and calculations.
Thanks, Mom.
Lee, if I can maybe just get you to stop for 2 seconds.
Yep.
We're not getting any of the sound. Just to give you a heads up, when you click share, you can stop sharing and then click share, just include computer audio.
Thank you. Somebody did show me this the other day. I should have known better. Right. Better now?
Perfect, thanks.
the whole idea that comes with the hub is actually really great because it gives a lot of people hope, especially people my age. You know, when you don't have anything to do with your life or you don't have any direction, you tend to lose hope, and it gives a sense of belonging.
Let me just say, wearing this jacket has been, let's say, a dream come true. Whenever we plate something, we serve it to people so that they can smile, so that they can enjoy. So this is us sharing the love because we make it out of love.
I feel respected as I'm wearing this uniform. When I walk in the community, people ask me, what is this? What are you guys gonna do? I'm telling them that we are the future. We are gonna make the future great and we're gonna make it happen.
Before I started working here, I was working at ArcelorMittal, and I don't know if you guys know, it closed down. And I struggled to find a job, and then lockdown started. It was horrible staying at home, being unemployed, and then boom, this an amazing opportunity came. It was kind of.
So I think that Mark started speaking to it, but in terms of the impacts of these hubs, you have impacts on jobs. So youth actually participating, farming, sewing, delivering, working as entrepreneurs. Then there's the incubation of small businesses. So like that textile manufacturing facility that was shown in the video, as well as the Blossom sanitary pad manufacturing, we actually are incubating and training small businesses. Expansion of current suppliers and access to market. So this, again, the textile manufacturing facility, an example of this is that we have partnered with Life Healthcare. And in our textile manufacturing facility, this entrepreneur is actually producing with her team 40,000 baby bags. So the bags that go into maternity wards, and these bags are being produced in our hubs by local entrepreneurs, and this is part of their supply development program. And then obviously looking at the expansion of industry skills and grassroots skills in these industries and in these communities. So as Mark said, it's really about bringing technology, access to market into communities where youth live and operate. So why say yes? Why join our program? Work was one of the highest impact social initiatives in the world. We have a proven track record. We've already delivering over 3.4 billion rand into the economy through youth salaries, build a workforce for the future, help capacitate the healthcare sector, create entrepreneurs who will contribute to our tax base, and integrate into your BE scorecard spend in a seamless way. Create youth jobs, change the future while transforming your organization. Just say yes. So thank you very much for your time. We've come to the end of our presentation, but we're very happy to take any questions in the last part of this section.
Thank you so very much, Leanne. That was really great presentation and very encouraging. You know, I think the changes come from all of us. and it's really fantastic work that you guys are doing, and keep it up. And it was so nice to see the amount of companies from our industry on the presentation, and I really hope that the next time we do chat, I think this is one of those things that we have to keep touching base on, and I hope that the next time we can see many more companies taking on this initiative with you.
Absolutely, we're going to be keeping track and monitoring that, and we'll feed back to you regularly to see where we're at and how many jobs we've created through SAMID. Tim, you have a question?
Yes, it's kind of just a comment that I lead into. I've worked with Youth Yes for Youth, and we've got a number of youth that we've already got on board, etc. So we've been doing that. One of the key things, to get hold of your staff, you can't. There's not even a telephone number on your website. So to go into it and try and get hold of somebody, that's just impossible. Sitting in these presentations and seeing these wonderful things being done, yes, it's beautiful. And we all want to partner, we all want to make a difference, we all want our scorecards to do well, etc. But one of the key things that we're currently sitting on, this is like a marketing pitch. You're coming in and sharing with us, these are the beautiful things you're doing. Whereas with us as industry, we want things that impacts and influences our industry. And we want to align with partners that we're working with already to get them set up. And there's nobody or nowhere in this presentation or nowhere on your website that gives us guidance to say, this is what needs to be done in order to develop these guys. Because as you know, we've got enterprise development, we've got supply development that we need to set up and get aligned in order to fix it up exactly the same way as what you've done on your side, which you're offering a service to others. But we want to do it on our side. For instance, we need consignment management, we need patient home care, treatment, and all those different types of things. We should got third-party partners to do that. But to get the resources, to get the information, the guidance, etc., like that, we just can't get hold of it. But if I ask for a marketing pitch and how do I join, how to add, then people respond immediately. But if you speak any correspondence in relation to how do I develop an enterprise, one of my partners or somebody like that in order to help us work and grow the program and working with them, there's no assistance coming forth. You rather let to throw money into Yes for You, throw money into Yes for You, because that's what it feels like. We're just throwing money into a business, and we want to actually make use of it and make a difference and see the difference in our industry.
So, I mean, on your question around the contact number, we do have a contact number on our website and some forms, but let's put, for every member here, we'll put our email addresses, so you're welcome to contact us. We do work with numerous partners around their different initiatives, as well as with their BE and transformation partners, to ensure that Yes is integrated. So we're very happy to work with you on that. Thanks, Mark, for putting your number in. I mean, we work with multiple partners on multiple programs. We can't solve every problem for every organization, but we will certainly speak to you and see how we can integrate with your current activities. We're here to create jobs with you, and however we do that, we're very happy to partner with you.
Tim, I'm happy to set up a call after this as well to kind of talk through it. I think maybe if I can just contextualize a little bit as well, to give you an indication of just how much activity Yes does on a weekly. So bear in mind, Yes is a not-for-profit, and its primary engagement includes with the DTIC, the verification agencies. Yes often gets expected to build programs for corporates that are beyond its mandate. Every day somebody's looking for some way that they can get access to youth to come and work in their organization, etc. There's a lot that has to be done from a structural perspective. For us, team does about 1,800 outbound calls every week, I think.
Yes, each week.
Yeah, each week. There is engagement with over 7,000 youth every month via the smartphones. Always happy to work with corporates. We we'll always do better where we can, but my feeling is that we do a fair amount of engagement with the different corporate partners, and more than happy to discuss it and build out strategies. I think part of the question sometimes comes down to where does Yes's mandate start and end. We often get dragged in as the broader BE consultants, and we kind of have to just draw a line as to where our strengths and weaknesses lie there. I see there are a couple other questions in the Q&A.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. I'll start with Tracy. Tanya, I see your hand as well, so I'll come to you next. Tracy.
Hi, so it's Tracy. I have two, maybe not questions, maybe just some points of discussion. Is the point around mentoring? So the question I have is, does mentoring such a fundamental of the success, and does the YES program have a defined mentoring, maybe policy outcomes, that kind of thing? So whilst we put people in, we actually get that the institutional knowledge start to be transferred, because the intention is to create an employable person, even if they can't be employed in your business. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is, whilst I know the distinction between the YES Youth Program and the learnerships, does the YES, because of your broad insight into the industry, do you have any interaction from a building modules for learnerships that are not as developed as others? So again, it might be outside of your scope. I understand that, but I find that a lot of industries are struggling because they don't have a significantly developed learnership program. Thank you.
Farai, is your hand up to answer that question?
Yes, Lee. So I'll answer the first part of the question, and then I think I can hand it over to Mark to answer the second question. So just in terms of the mentorship and supervisors, what YES does is to ensure that we give youth the tools for them to be able to have their work experience. So when the youth are hosted by Sanofi, for example, or by Nedbank, those youth would then be hosted by that corporate sponsor, which means that it's the responsibility of the corporate to ensure that they have allocated each youth to a supervisor who can do the mentorship and the skills transfer. Where YES will come in is in inducting your YES youth, talking them through what YES is, what the expectations are, how to make the most of your opportunity as a YES youth. We will then induct them onto their phones so that they know how to use the YES Life app as well as the YES for Youth app. We encourage them that, each module you complete on YES for Youth, upload your certificate onto LinkedIn, which enhances your employability. We then also, like Mark mentioned, do consistent monitoring and evaluation throughout the program. So every week we do 1,800 calls to active YES youth just to check in on how their experiences are going. Should there be some reports about them not having a great experience, perhaps because of a lack of supervisor, we'll then engage with the corporate on that feedback or with the implementation partner, depending on where the youth are placed. We then also do the offboarding sessions with youth between month 8 to month 12 to ensure that they have engaged as much as possible and that they do have some pathways for them at the end of the program. When we do the offboarding sessions, we also upload every youth onto a newly launched platform by Presidency called sayouth.mobi. And sayouth.mobi is a centralized platform with learning and earning opportunities for unemployed youth. So in terms of how YES supports youth through their journey, we do that in the different ways I've mentioned, but the actual mentorship thereof and supervision of youth has to come from either the corporate, if the youth is placed internally, or has to come from the implementation partner. Just to quickly share on this, we've seen really great initiatives from corporates and really high absorption rates when corporates have said, these are YES youth. This is not only for BE purposes, but like you mentioned, this is for skills transfer. So these are the sort of mechanisms I want to put into place. And just a month ago, Nedbank had a whole launch for their YES youth, where they had supervisors speaking about what are critical skills for them to learn and gain within the business, where they had paired YES youth not only to supervisors, but also to mentors. So from the Yes side, we'd be very happy to work with corporates to ensure that you do have a clear journey and pathway for your youth, and we can advise on what we've seen as best practice from other corporates in terms of this mentorship and supervision of Yes Youth. I'll hand over to Mark to answer your second question.
Thanks, Fry. So just for the rest of the audience who may or may not be familiar with the learnership environment, so Yes is completely separate element on the scorecard. It's not part of your skills spend. So your learnerships typically fall under your skills element on the scorecard. Yes is additive to what has been what's been calculated there under the priority element. And you cannot absorb youth into a learnership. So from an absorption perspective, youth can't be absorbed into a learnership. Having said that, it is a nice way. So what we have seen with some of the corporates and I'll just give two quick examples of how they've been able to take youth and kind of feed them into a learnership channel. So remember, I mean, the primary purpose that Yes is tackling is around the access to that first work experience. The second element to it is ensuring that they actually have some kind of follow through. It makes no sense to have a program where they do 12 months of work experience and then only 2.5% of their absorption has to take place. And the idea is to say, well, even if it's not a straightforward absorption for triple B recognition, can I build a talent pipeline that I can go and move into absorption, our broader learnership strategy? Or, and this is quite an interesting example, so one of the corporates it's a multinational tech company, they actually used the youth, they used the Yes implementation partner to recruit differently abled youth as part of their first year of participation, and they looked for kind of high potential youth inside of that cohort. And then they decided to take some on as permanently, absorb those youth as permanent employment as part of their broader scorecard, but also for the disabled youth learnership. So there's a number of different ways to do it from that perspective. And the idea is really to see.
How are you?
Just to that it is an opportunity to build it in as a multi-year program, and I think that's one of the things we're quite excited about is the way that organizations are adopting a multi-year approach to Yes rather than just kind of a short-term let's get a level up on our scorecard. Tracy, does that answer the question?
It does, Mark. Thank you. And so I'll just look forward to engagement around that. Thanks.
Look forward to it.
Thanks, Mark. Tanya, I'll go to you. Tim, I see your hand, so you go next.
Just with regards to Mark's comment, so to comment with regards to that, I know that some agencies mentioned that if we pay a stipend on top of the Yes fee, so the Yes payment, the Yes salary, and you pay a stipend over and above on that, and you pay for the learnership, and then they can basically be on not that per se that they're on a learnership, but bursaries per se. So if it's you get on a bursary, so especially that is for companies that is over and above into the generic scorecards, that has to have bursaries and learnerships under the bursaries. Then if you are ever you're paying over and above, then you allocate that as a stipend plus the actual course fee will then be able to go towards a bursary spend. Is that correct, Mark?
That is not correct. And normally where we start seeing these kind of double dipping elements, we do normally ask you to engage the verification agency up front. So the intent behind Yes is not to the intent behind Yes is not to cannibalize other other triple B priority elements. Remember, always think of Yes as additive. There is so just to give you a sense, Yes is the kind of baseline salary for Yes is aligned to your national minimum wage or any of your industry bargaining elements. So that comes in at 3,760 on the 40-hour work week. The average youth salary in Gauteng, I think, is about 4,800, and the national average is about 4,200. We always encourage organizations to pay a little bit extra. It just helps with retention and not having this drop off. The element that you were and just kind of for context, people often think that Yes youth have to be complete entry level. Remember, the requirement for Yes is 18 through to 35. unemployed at time of contracting, so they can have work experience, and black as defined by the SAPE codes. I've seen Yes Youth on salaries of between 16 and 32,000 Rand. And once the organizations find high income earners or high potential or youth inside the organization, they'll pull them in and they'll pay them market related salaries. The question about the bursaries, you can claim some elements on your score. You just can't double dip on the on your learnerships and internships. You'll get shot down there. So just be aware of that. And if you do try and structure, I mean, I've seen some things where guys will kind of move they'll pay their learnership from another company, and they've played with that 12H incentive. I'm happy to take that discussion offline, but there have been different structures put into the market. Our kind of baseline is always just refer back to your verification agency before you jump in, boots and all.
Happiness. Tanya, sorry, your hand must be sore now. Please go.
Thank you, Martin. I just wanted to say thank you so much to Yes for coming through today, and we're really looking forward to this partnership. Just to mention to the members, as part of the partnership and to make it a bit easier for the members, we have linked the Yes website to the SARMED website, but we will be implementing a Contact Yes button, which will channel to a landing page for members. That's still to come, and we'll let you know once that's completed. And then I also just wanted to check with Leanne, as part of our partnership, it was also agreed that Yes would provide a list of implementation partners for recruiting youth, including those for differently abled youth. So I just wanted to check where we're at with that and when we'll be able to make that available to members.
No problem. We can definitely get that through. Farai, we can get that through quite quickly this week.
We have that on hand. We've got the one that's just been stated for August. I'd be happy to circulate that just after this meeting.
Great.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, if anybody has any questions, please, we've put all 3 of our email addresses in the chat. We're very happy to work with you, and just thank you for the opportunity to speak to you all today.
Thank you very much, Leanne, and your team. The youth employment is such a critical part of growing South Africa and capacitating the industry. We encourage members to reach out to the Yes team and the SARMED, like Tanya just mentioned as well, if you need to link up that way. But yeah, thank you very much.
Brilliant. We look forward to it. Thanks, Amel, everyone.
Moving on, SARMED recognizes the need to showcase our industry success in the triple B space. This is not only an example to our peers, but also facilitate knowledge sharing and enable more businesses to transform. We celebrate the success and encourage all progress made in the transformation journey. And here to share Buyer's transformation journey is Tracy Munsami. She's been vocal already. There she is. Who is the general manager. Couldn't have come at a better time because Tracy has actually just been elected as well to the Transformation Committee Chair for SARMED. Welcome, Tracy.
Thank you, Martin. Good morning, everyone. It really is an absolute pleasure to be. The great thing about having a vocational job that you love is that you get to do all of these wonderful things on the side, like chairing the Transformation Committee. And I think it is our social responsibility, and I'm really glad to be here. And I love the dialogue that I've already seen. And I think that I would say our success story from an industry perspective is so well positioned after the Yes presentation. And I'd like to just spend a little bit of time talking through the journey of the business. So Bio as a group, where it started and where we are now. A little bit more about Biodortex Healthcare, which is a medical device manufacturer that is manufacturing devices in Pinetown, Durban, and exporting to almost every continent. And then if there's a few minutes left, I'll talk through to my journey of transformation and what it means to me. I am happy for you to shout, disturb, stick your hand up, a leg up, anything. This is slightly daunting for me, so I beg your indulgence. I haven't done this before, so I have been told that on the first time I have complete immunity. I can make as many mistakes as I would like, and they only start counting from the next one. So I'm not sure if I'm driving the presentation. Caroline?
Tracy, you can try and take control. Otherwise, I'm happy to move the slides for you.
This is what happens when you're not an expert on Teams. So I think, Caroline, it's request control. It's not highlighted, so I think you have to drive for me.
No problem.
All right. So so if we just talk through the next slides, Caroline. So buyer industry started off as OTH buyer. On the next slide, you'll see a little bit of text around. So the founder, Mr. OTH buyer, arrived in Durban from Germany and established the business as a wool merchant. And what he did then is recognize the need in South Africa for carpet manufacturers and basically in the non-wovens sector that there was not sufficient wool merchants. From being a wool merchant, he then moved on to wool washing, wool processing, and thereafter grew the industry into various forms. If we can skip 2 slides ahead, Caroline, because I think I made, yeah. So as the business grew into footwear, PVC, non-wovens, the need to transact in the South African context was really became an imperative. And what started then was a journey to find the right partners who had both brought expertise from an industry perspective and enriched the business. And we found partners that were actively engaged in the business, and we found partners that to this day sit on our board, are actively involved in our business, show up at our meetings with our clients. And we found that the BEE transaction that started in 2005 then moved to from 26% in 2005 to 51.25% in 2016. So Caroline, could we go back a slide? Thank you. Sorry about that. I mixed up the slides. And what I wanted to illustrate here is that the transformation, when it is true, when it is authentic, doesn't necessarily happen overnight. It happens over time. And between these 11 years, there were various transactions, various growth in businesses, new acquisitions. And whilst you see a change in percentage, there was a huge change in the business from a size perspective, so turnover, from number of employees, number of businesses within the group. And that has led us to what the buyer group looks and feels like now. So Caroline, if you could drive. So this is what our Durban site looks like. And we have many other sites across the country. So we have a site in PE, Johannesburg. And what has it allowed the business, the transformation has allowed the business to expand in a very, like I said, in a very real and a very sustainable way. I'd like to just talk you for 2 minutes on the next slide, Caroline, on the group of companies. So the buyer group of companies is made up of 4 companies. We have Biodortex, which is a non-wovens and a needle felt manufacturer. You have BBF, which does head-to-toe safety. Most of our products are locally manufactured, and most of our raw materials are locally sourced. We have Biodortex Healthcare, which I'll spend a bit of time on the wound care products, and again, very proudly South African, proudly KZN, and continue to export to the US, to China, to India, and into Europe. We have Newcoat, which is a PVC coating business, and again, very proud of the technology and the industrialization that we've managed to bring into South Africa. Thank you, Caroline. So who are we? We are a diversified manufacturing group. Sorry, Caroline, can we go to the next slide? Yeah. So our vision is a diversified manufacturing group that that focuses on delivering on industrialization, transformation, and development. And the reason this is so important is it is my belief that transformation will not happen on its own, and transformation will not happen without industrialization, without localization, and without development. I will, on the next slide, Caroline, please. In the next slide, and I know you cannot see it, Walter, perhaps when the presentation goes out, what I want to indicate here is the strategic intent of a business. So if a business does not have strategic intent to achieve anything, whether it is an increase in turnover or to increase its diversity or its landscape, it is unlikely that that vision will be achieved. And what the Bio Group recognized that in order to achieve this, it has to make transformation a strategic intent. It then has to build the values and the common language around transformation and development. It needs to create a common language, and we really do need to lead from the top. Leadership, we also developed and built a leadership model which talks to leading oneself, leading people, and leading performance. And again, if these values, if this ethos is entrenched in our businesses, entrenched in oneself, transformation becomes the way we do things and not the act of change in itself. So transformation gets ingrained in the way we speak, in how we employ people, in how we grow the business, in how we bring in new products. And so for me, transformation is the way that we do things, not an act of transformation. I'd like to then talk to you, Caroline, if you could skip 2 slides ahead. Onto the next one, please. I'd like to talk to you around Biodortex Healthcare. And just because those of us that sit here, we really have an interest in the healthcare sector. So Biodortex Healthcare is a local manufacturer. We currently manufacture wound care and associated products. All our manufacturing is currently done in Pinetown in a Class 7 clean room. And we've had a journey of 11 years of manufacturing in South Africa. And our transformation has been multi-pronged. So one has been that the business has grown. And I think one of the joys of having a business that's local, producing really high-end niche products that has the credibility, the testing, the certification attached to it, is the ability to grow the other markets. So our market is not, we are South African, but our markets and where we choose to play is not just South Africa. We choose to play in the world. And so Biodortex Healthcare has grown exponentially, both in the number of people we employ, in our engagements, in the number of parts that we produce, and in a very real way in our turnover and our success as a business. On the next slide, I'd like to talk to you to just, what do we believe in? What is our journey? So we really believe in South Africa. We believe in the people of South Africa, and we believe that our growth must start in South Africa. We are advocates of world-class manufacturing and delighting the customer. And I know sometimes in the healthcare industry, delighting the customer sometimes comes at odds as to in also being compliant, but it is an important value. And we ensure that our values are consistent with our vision of industrialization. And when I say that, we know the challenges around producing a product in the South African context, where we're fighting imports. It really is cheaper to import a product. But when we as a business are forced to make those decisions, or when we're forced to consider those, we allow our values to be part of the consideration of that. And therefore, I say our journey has been long and it's been hard, but it's been extremely rewarding because we've allowed our values to drive that. As a final note, we are a vision-led, values-based business, and I think that shows. I'd like to talk through a little bit around what those values are. So, our values are integrity, respect, inclusivity, stewardship, and no harm. And whilst these sound like nice words and we all have those values, what's important for me is these values are subscribed to from the top. So it means that the business, all businesses, the leadership of the business believe in these values. And what it then does, it makes it easy for us to implement a program. It makes it easy for us to challenge a decision. And just talking through some of the discussions we've had earlier around the YES program, the mentoring, these are values-driven imperatives. So whilst there's a numbers imperative that comes out in terms of how many people of color do you employ, I still believe that if you transform because it's the right thing to do, that's when you really see the impact and the real benefit to your business. That being said, transformation and our journey of transformation should not remove an enabling environment, and it shouldn't remove, and it should talk to us being agile. Agility is something that's really important, and the structure around what we develop, it is also important for us as businesses, as South Africa, as the economy, to remain agile. It is very difficult, and I think we've gone through our most traumatic 18 months, and South Africans are resilient. I know some of us, if we hear resilience one more time, we're going to throw up, but we're agile, and we will survive, and we will not just survive, we will thrive. And we will thrive because the discussions around transformation, development are part of our ethos. They're not the thing that we do for a scorecard. In the next few slides, I'll talk through some of the initiatives that has been done through Bio Group and Biodortex Healthcare. So we have a CHESS program. So we recognize that it doesn't start when an employee gets to us. The engagement with the population of South Africa begins when our employees are still kids, and when our employees still need us to influence and shape their future. And CHESS has been recognized as a program that to roll out into various undersourced schools, and we have various initiatives, and we're very proud of the success of our CHESS team. It also talks to the Bio Group's vision around maths and science and the promotion of learners who excel in maths and science. On the next slide, please. We also we believe in partners, and we partner with schools that are close to our industry. And again, we believe in contributing to the education of children, and we believe that in recognizing talent. So we go into schools, we recognize talent, and we then give the kids all the tools that we need, including your CSI initiatives, access to math and science assistance, and of course a mentoring program to help the kids through their schooling career. We also provide classrooms. On the next slide, we provide classrooms to kids. So there's sometimes some things that we can't do, and the reason I like to have this dialogue is sometimes as businesses that are struggling to remain viable, we often daunted by how much we need to spend. And the reason I put this slide in is do what you can. So you might not be able to build a school, but you may be able to facilitate something. You might not be able to do, you might not be able to employ all the people that you would like to, but you can employ one person. And so the story here is do what you can. It might not be what a multinational can do, but as a small business that's transforming, there are many things that you can do that will aid the transformation journey in South Africa. Next slide, please, Caroline. I would like to talk through enterprise development, and I think we've had a fair amount of discussion around this, and I don't want to go into the the legal ambient of it, the BBBE legislation. What I want to talk about is using enterprise development within your supply chain. Our biggest successes have come from recognizing partners within our supply chain and using that partnership to grow Black-owned, Black women-owned, Black youth-owned businesses, and then using that to localize products and localize raw material that we would have imported. And these are not quick wins necessarily, but they're really sustainable goals. And what that does is it talks to our transformation agenda, and it also builds local capacity. And what we found that if we extend our training, mentoring, and learnerships into our enterprise development and supply development programs, we then gain even more success, because we start to grow capacity and we start to build capacity in our supply chain. And we completely recognize that we will probably not use all of the capacity that we're building in the supply chain, but we're building sustainability so that that business becomes sustainable and can then be a standalone business without us holding their hand, probably in about 5 years. On the next slide. So I'd like to run through, I think some of this is a bit of a repeat of what I've said, but I'd like to run through what has made us sustainable. So we engage in purposeful training. We have a leadership and development model, and we have various training initiatives, including bursary students. And the reason I say this is that we must also train the people that work for us. We must engage with scholars, and then we must engage with your bursary students. We've had numerous successes, including female fitters, female boilermakers, female electricians. There really is no job in the biosphere that we cannot, or females cannot have. One of our successes is taking, again, a bursary student coming through the ranks, come into the business, start a mentoring program, and now becomes a departmental head. And again, I want to say that that journey is not quick. It doesn't happen quickly, but when you have vision and you have your values guiding you, you do get to where you need to go. It sometimes is a little bit of a journey. In terms of the environment, it goes without saying, in order to get the imperatives that we get, you have to create the safe and the non-discriminatory environment. And a fundamental is that we continue to invest in growth in manufacturing. So our growth, we recognize, will not come if our manufacturing does not grow. All right, so I'd like to talk through transformation. So Caroline, you can click through the whole slide, and then I'll talk through it. So we know what transformation is not, right? Transformation is not black and white. Transformation really isn't numbers on your report, and it's not form over function. And if we just take a minute to reflect on our journey as a country, on our journey as a population, we've had various forms of transformation. We've had political transformation. This country over the last 300 years has changed and transformed in a way that we perhaps 300 years didn't see coming. We've had, and I understand that the landscape is that transformation is sometimes seen as it's sometimes fearful, it's sometimes unknown, and we also struggle with the very real political environment that we live in. I was personally affected by the looting. My home was, my family was affected, and however, that is the political environment that we live in. What we must recognize is we must recognize the journey that we have been on. Legally, our country has been transformed into, we have some of the strongest legislation in the world. We have, as a people, as a nation, as a group of people, we've transformed ourselves emotionally. We're able to have difficult, emotive conversations because of our personal transformation journey. Diversity has become part of our landscape. We think diversity, we live and act diversity. And you know, if you look at it yourself personally, you may have gone through your own transformation journey around in your own business, changing jobs, changing roles, you know, moving through different personal roles. And what I'm trying to say is that transformation is more than just the color of our skin. As a nation, we have transformed. As a people, we have transformed. And you know, and we do have ways to go, but I think that we are starting to see the effect of that transformation journey. And I think what we need to do now is really hold ourselves to account in terms of what do we want this landscape to look like in 5 years, in 10 years. Caroline, could we go to the next slide? So why transformation? So while some of us, it is important to talk the numbers, transformation really is growth. And transformation is a social and economic imperative. And I think as a country, as a nation, as a people, we are in dire need of authentic transformation. So transformation that occurs where we don't just change what our workforce looks like, we change the power that's entrusted to our workforce. We change the way we employ people, we change the way we speak to people, we change the way we engage. And I think that as businesses that are authentically transformed will start to see the power of growth, and our government and the various initiatives out there are driving that initiative. And I think SAMED as a body as well is very vocal, and he's driving a not just a transformation agenda, but is driving a program to help their members along the transformation journey. And in the words of my mentor, when you do the right things, the benefits do follow. Sometimes in the beginning you don't quite see it, but I've certainly seen it happen in a very real and meaningful way. So interdependence. So transformation cannot live by itself, and for me the power and the true impact of transformation will come when it's accelerated by industrialization and localization. And this is the power of interdependence. We need each other. Transformation needs industrialization and localization, and industrialization needs transformation. And when we realize that we need each other, we're not forced to be in this, we're not forced to interact with each other. We don't have to, we need it. And we need it so that we can grow at a faster rate than what we're growing now. That is when our real successes will come. All right, I'd like to take 5 minutes and talk about my journey. If everyone's still awake, maybe if you're still awake, just say hi, hello, I'm still here. I haven't left.
We're still here with you.
Great, wonderful.
I'm still here with you, Tracy.
Wonderful. All right. So I started at Bayer 23 years ago. I started as a learner, why I'm so passionate about just the learnership journey, and why mentoring and being authentic about that journey is important to me. I started off as a learner. I worked my way through. I had some really good opportunities. I was sometimes in the right place at the right time. And I now sit on the board of some of the businesses, and I'm very actively engaged in the strategic intent of the business, which is for me the most meaningful way to be engaged. What has got me here? Taking every opportunity. And sometimes they're well hidden, and sometimes they're disguised, and sometimes you have to have a good cry in the bathroom before you take those opportunities. But take every opportunity that comes, and sometimes the benefit to you personally, so I speak to each person here, sometimes the benefit to you personally is not very well ventilated, and you need to sit down and let it percolate for a little while, but take the opportunity. Be prepared to show up. So be prepared to speak, to have your voice. I know my next point about earning your seat at the table is sometimes controversial, but it's a very personal thing for me. I want to know that my seat is earned every day, that I didn't earn it once, and that I'm not at the table because of my color, and I'm not at the table because I'm female, but I'm at the table because I bring value every day. I change the dynamic, and I contribute to every business and every discussion that I'm in. Fundamental to me is to take people along. I am not successful if I have not changed the lives of others. And I think that whilst the business has its own imperatives, as individuals, we should have our imperative, and that is around taking people along the journey of mentoring, giving of yourself, and possibly in ways that you will never be repaid for. All you'll have is a warm, fuzzy feeling. But the workforce, both in where you work and in South Africa in general, will not be transformed if people like us don't give off of ourselves, of our time, of our effort, of our experiences. If we don't share with others, if we don't take the time to ask others, what are you struggling with? How can I help you? And sometimes those are vocational struggles. So sometimes those are people that report to you that you have to mentor and take along. And sometimes there are people that don't report to you, that you have no line management over, but you see a mentoring opportunity. And I encourage you to take those opportunities as they come along. I encourage you to sometimes put yourself out there and say, this happened to me. I've had this problem. This is how I overcome it. You see a young mom or dad that is juggling parenthood and getting to work and some deliverables. And whilst you can't help them with their work deliverables, talk with them around your journey, how you've been successful, what has worked for you, what tools do you have in your toolbox, and encourage people around that. So like I said, transformation is really is around business and around yourself and your both your emotional and your vocational transformation. The people on the transformation committee will know this. So I'm not A type. I don't like to compete, but I do want to know that I've come up against the best and won. And so from a transformation perspective, it really is an imperative for me that I am deemed competent by myself and others. And so my personal journey is around being the best at whatever I can be and working hard at that. And lastly, your values will always show who you are. So one of the reasons that I have remained at Bio is because there is a strong alignment of the vision and the values of the business and my own values. And when you find a place like that, where literally your heart does sing, you stay there. You stay and you grow and you build that business, and you build the people in that business, and you also build yourself. So I encourage those of you that are struggling to test your values against the business that you're in, and part of your journey could be to change that value and that ethos and the landscape of the business that you are. I have 2 more slides. I hope you can survive through that. I hope it's not death by PowerPoint. Caroline, just right. So how do we unlock this power of transformation? Tracy's spoken a lot, and Bayer is telling their story. Look for opportunities. So again, both in the business, in your supply chain, in the people you interact with, don't be afraid of engaging, of putting forward those really crazy ideas. Don't be afraid of challenging the norm. It doesn't matter if we've done it this way for 20 years. Ask the question, make the proposal. It might not come to fruition now. It might only come to fruition in 5 years, in 10 years. Embrace change. Change is going to happen, whether we like it or not. The only consistent is change. And what you can do, once you can't change the journey of change, you can manage yourself. You can manage yourself and how you work through the change that's around you. Mentoring. I cannot say enough about mentoring. It is absolutely, I'm sure all of us have had the benefit of a mentor, and I think that it goes both ways. In your business, create a structure for mentoring. Create a space, a safe place where people can speak about what they are struggling with, and how we can help them through it. Succession planning. These are the tools. These are the things that if you have them in your toolbox, they really are going to make transformation better, and they're going to create a framework for transformation. Capture institutional knowledge. So I guess all of us have this pain. We're either the people who know everything, or there's someone else who knows everything and we don't know how to capture it. But if you look above, if you look for those opportunities, if you mentor, if you actively create succession planning opportunities, and create a culture of shared knowledge, of transferring institutional knowledge, capturing institutional knowledge. Those are the things that have brought us success. I think those are the things that will bring success to the economy. Embrace diversity and take the long-term view. This is not a simple journey. This is not easy, and this is not, transformation is not, there are some quick wins and you're going to have them, but it is not necessarily going to happen quickly. It is going to be absolutely wonderful, and it's going to be fulfilling, and we're all going to be better for it. But we must take the long-term view in the decisions that we make, particularly around where do we source our products from? How do we create localization? How do we industrialize? Sometimes that journey around creating a locally produced product takes 5 years. So I encourage you to take the long-term view. My last slide is around leadership, around being a leader, not a manager. And fundamentally is giving directions, and giving direction is not the same thing. So sometimes we get very operational and we tell people what to do and how to do it. But giving direction is leading change, leading oneself, and leading performance. And what we want to do is be intentional about the decisions that we make, be intentional about what we want to achieve, and create the dialogue, and create the same safe space in your business, in your environment, in your office, for these conversations to happen. They are not necessarily easy conversations, and they're not without pain, but they're certainly valuable. And lastly, when you create and build this workforce, when you create and build yourself, when you change yourself, do it for the life of the business, not for how long you intend on staying in the business. So when you make these changes, when you consider these alternatives, think about how long this business will be here. Think about the number of people and the generations that will be employed in this business, and not just how long you're going to be here. Because long after we have left, our transformation journey and initiatives will continue. We are the leadership, we are the industry, and I'm very proud to be part of this journey. So that is my last slide. I hope that I have not spoken too fast. I do have a habit of doing that. And I hope that I have meaningfully engaged with you. If you would like any comments or questions, I'm happy to chat through it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Tracy. That was really brilliant, and so much similarities, that touch chord with me as well on my journey. And I look forward to your new position as the chair of the committee, and just to engage you further as well in that. There was something that I thought about, Tracy. You said you started 23 years ago, but how could you have started 23 years ago when you're 23 now? Buyer. So
45, mathematical number.
No, that was brilliant. The one thing that's really struck a chord with me as well, with regards to your presentation and the presentations that have come before you in terms of the transformation, is what you touched on about the need for it to be authentic and organic, and not the chase for the scorecard, and I think it's so important in that, you know what I mean? You look around and you take on the responsibility to make the world better, or to make the environment around you better. And it's funny how that theme has really stretched from your presentation to all the presentations before. It's just something that's really just struck me with that.
Definitely, yeah.
Tanya?
Martin, I do see that there's a question in the chat.
Let me have a look here. Questions from Wendy. I'm going to read it for you there, Tracy. What is the buyer group current BBB level and percentage Black ownership and Black women ownership?
All right, so not an easy question to answer because the buyer group has multiple ownerships in the different businesses. What we can say is that they are majority Black-owned businesses, and they range from a level 1. So you've got Biodortex and Biodortex that are level 1 and level 2, up to level 4 and level 5. So different businesses with different imperatives have different levels of ownership. There is a strong drive to continue on the path of, again, meaningfully changing that. And we are firm believers in partnerships that are mutually beneficial. So to answer your question, it is, if I don't want to give you an incorrect version of the truth, but so different businesses in the group have different levels. So we do vary from a level 1 to a level 5.
Happiness. Thanks, Tracy. Anyone else with a comment or question, please? That's the time. Tim asks, and the reason for that?
So really, very simply, is every business has got its own ownership structure. So buyer group is not the structure, legal structure around it is that it's a holding company. The manufacturing and each business is a completely separate entity. So my focus here today was Biodortex Healthcare, and Biodortex Healthcare has got an ownership and management structure, and a part of it is owned by the buyer group. So different businesses have different ownership, some owned by South African companies. There are some, absolutely, it is a journey. So if the focus is transformation, why not embrace it across the board? 100%. And again, I think when we look at transformation, we must look at the journey. So if we look at today and we say 51%, why aren't you 100%? Great. But what were you 5 years ago? And I think the message we must get to industry is that it is the journey. And we recognize all the progress that you make. We recognize the 1% and the 2% and the changes that industry is making. Because these are not necessarily easy changes. They're not easy decoupling mechanisms. And to industrialize and localize is a journey.
Yeah, I think everyone's got a different starting point, isn't it? And
absolutely. And like I said, for me, what's important is not the absolute number. It's the transformation. It's the management control. It's the journey that the business is on. And I think we must encourage the journey, and we must encourage people to step into it, and not be daunted by becoming 100% Black-owned in the first, right at the beginning. So start the journey and be authentic about it. Yep. So Tim, I'm not sure if I'm understanding what you're saying. So for high levels, one does not need 100% ownership. Again, 100%, but the context here is Biodortex Healthcare, because Biodortex Healthcare is a member of SAMED. I'm happy to have some discussions offline on the rest of the businesses.
Cool beans. Any other comment? Happiness. Don't see nothing. Tracy, thank you so much. Tim has given a thumbs up as well. Tim, don't you want to join the transformation committee as well?
I was going to suggest that.
Just to step up on that with regards to the transformation, congratulations on your new role, and looking forward to more information being shared and more platforms in connection with it. As I mentioned in the previous session, in the previous presentation and this presentation, the key thing that we're looking to here, there's a lot that is leading on to, it's more like a marketing and long adverts that we always watch when we go on to these transformation and BE sessions. I go into it and I look in and I sit in there thinking, I have to spend time, I have to learn more. I want to understand the transformation. I want to understand the BEE. I want to understand how I can incorporate into my business. Sorry about that. But now sitting in these forums, I know more about Bayer than more that I've learned about my business, how I can add additional value. I can rather come in and market you. I'd rather see that I need to maybe take money and chuck it into one of your programs, and similar with the yes and those type of things. Whereas I think these forums and these places should actually be used like, let's look at ownership. These are options, these are ideas, these are strategies, these are things that you can look into. Yes, you can throw in a business here, option here, an option there, or something like that. But the emphasis should not be where to spend. The emphasis should not be where the opportunity is. We are here for education. I think a lot of the people here understand transformation, because a lot of the people that would be on this forum would be people that is busy with the programs, that is doing those things already. So we understand the transformation, we understand where we fit in. But to sit and listen to a very good presentation, no shoot down. But as I say, it's India. It's more like you marketing a project, or yes, guys are marketing a project, instead of actually coming and say, guys, industry, we here as a team, let's work with you, and these are options. This is skills, this is enterprise, this is social development, these are ideas, these are strategies, these are growth points. This is where you can actually do certain things and pull that together, and then maybe say, and these are options, and use maybe the last 5 or 10 minutes as options, not the half an hour and then 2 and then the 5% on where we can do transformation. And that's where I'm just looking into it. I really enjoy doing with it, because yes, the yes for youth is like, I came into something, yes, this is awesome. Nice information we're going to learn and get more insight, where we can learn how we can adopt it in industry, how we can grow it in industry, and all those type of things. Coming in and looking at the Bayer, yes, how we can, what's the plan now that as you've come on board, this is your plan, this is your strategy, this is what we are looking into, these are people we're going to be partnering with, and those type of things. And I'm sorry if it comes off as negative. I'm just like at the place where I'm a little bit, I would say a little bit annoyed in this fact that I've taken out a lot of time to basically dedicate to this, where yes, I've learned and I understand a little bit, but as I say, it's a long marketing process instead of where I've learned and grown and adds value to my business and to me.
Okay, so Tim, point taken. I think what we must understand is that we possibly don't know each other's landscape, so it's really difficult to create a presentation that really talks to all the deliverables. But I really encourage you to engage with me. I will put my email address into the chat. Email me, I will give you my number. We can chat through. This is not marketing. I really don't, myself or the business doesn't get anything out of this. But this is the aim of this was to present the buyer journey, what has happened, and to encourage those that are struggling on this journey, or those that need to see what has worked for you. So what I did present on is what has worked for us, what has been the initiatives. So if you saw something that strikes a chord with you, enterprise development, learnership, mentoring, if there's something there that you want to say, Tracy, how did you do it? What are the tangibles? What process did you follow? What document did you use? What measurables did you use? I'm happy to share that with you. I won't be able to offer presentation, know what your business imperatives are, what your business does. So engage with me. Take anything out of this presentation. Say, how did you get success in this? How did you grow your turnover? How did you get new products in? How did you engage with DTIC? Talk to me. I'm here.
Yeah. Tim, satisfied?
All good, thanks.
Thank you so much. Tanya, I'm going to give it to you.
Okay, so I just wanted to say a very big thank you to both Martin and also to Tracy and to Yes today, and also to say that I'm extremely excited. Let me put my camera on. Hopefully my bandwidth will stay steady. We're so excited to have you on board, Tracy. I know we had to pull your arm a number of times, but I think it's going to be an awesome journey. And I also want to say a very special thank you to Peter Mechlape, who was the acting chair in place of Matse Masilo, who left us. And just also to recognize Matse, she really, I believe, has taken this committee to the next level. And I'm sure Tracy is going to take us to even the next level. It kind of reminds me of, you know, we're probably what, on about a level 3, and we're going to get to a level 1. So it's going to be very exciting, and I hope that the members, you know, will share with us your challenges, share with us your journey, share with us your experiences. One of the reasons we've been holding these forums is specifically to share tangible journeys, tangible, practical examples and experiences that you can then take away and possibly implement in your own businesses in your journey. So I just wanted to, if you don't mind, I know it wasn't on the agenda, but I thought I've got an opportunity here. I just wanted to very quickly share with the members some of the progress to date in terms of what the Transformation Committee has been up to. If you could move to the next slide, please, Caroline. So you'll actually see that in this last year, well, January to now, we've actually done quite a lot. We've had 2 forums where we've had CEOs from Nestle, Eaton Energy, Medtronic, and other companies give us their transformation journey. We've had the BEE Commission on fronting. We also had Langa Medics provide their journey. And today we've had Yes present and Bayer's journey. We have another forum coming up in October, and at our conference in October, we have 2 dedicated sessions in terms of transformation. In terms of communications, we dedicated 2 pages to transformation. You would have seen from the desk of the executive officer that a number of those editions have included aspects around transformation. In fact, we've got 49 mentions in terms of transformation in the SAMET news. There have been other ad hoc emails, and our website now has a dedicated transformation page. We've updated our transformation statement. We've added the Yes link, and we've also got 4 transformation articles on our newsfeed. I think something else that some of you might not be aware of was that SAMED did comment on the draft employment equity bill. And in fact, we also made a submission and presentation to the Portfolio Committee of Labour on our submission. We've also had a BEE consultant present to the board on procurement and fronting. And we are currently engaging with a number of service providers because there are 2 initiatives that the Transformation Committee are wanting to embark on. One is an industry-wide facilitated skills development initiative, and the other is also just boosting the BBBE support for membership. We've partnered with Yes, and more recently we've actually ratified the SAMED transformation policy, and that will be presented to members and will appear on our website. Next slide. Also, we are planning to do a full review of the SAMED membership BBBEE landscape. What I asked Nikki to pull for me was, you will have noted that with the new website, all our members needed to register their company details on the website, and you were actually asked what is your BBBE level, and you were asked to upload your certificate. Now, I know this slide looks very messy, so I'm just going to share with you, but currently we have 49 members at BEE level 1, 25 level 2, 8 level 3, 33 level 4, 5 level 5, 8 level 6, 15 at level 7, and 36 at level 8. However, I must just qualify that these are outdated stats. And Caroline, if you could just move to the next slide for me. So these are outdated stats. Currently, out of our 200 odd members, we only have 160 certificates on record. 53 companies have not provided their certificates. 111 of those that we do have expired. And 48 companies indicated they were exempt, and 34 indicated that they were non-compliant. So what this does is just give us, it gives us sort of a ballpark figure of where we're at. What we will be doing is in the next few months, we will ask members to please upload their current certificates via the website, and we will be doing a full BBBEE landscape analysis. And we will also start identifying what the various pillars scores are and where our members perhaps are struggling in terms of those pillars and overall. And then we will look at providing targeted interventions, information, forums to help members improve in those areas that they find challenging. Why is this information so important? Absolutely, it's voluntary. It's not mandatory that you provide us with your certificate or even your level, but I must urge you to please do so. Because without data, one, we can't determine where we're at currently. We can't measure progress because we are planning to do this analysis on an annual basis. And three, we're not seen as credible. I'm not sure if Marlon's on the meeting or at the meeting, but when we went to the Portfolio Committee of Labour and presented on the Employment Equity Bill, and more recently when we went to the Portfolio Committee of Health and presented on the NHI SAMED submission, we were asked the same question. How transformed is your industry? What have you done to ensure transformation of your membership? And honestly, we don't have those stats at this point in time, and we desperately need them. So please heed the call. It's a call to support you, to help you in your transformation journey, and ultimately to bring about a more transformed medtech sector. Thanks, Martin.
Thank you so much, Tanya. If there's any other comments, I'll just close it. We're doing very well for time. We've got about 6 minutes. Happiness. If there's nothing, I would just like to thank all our speakers today, the Yes for Youth team, and of course, Tracy from Bio. I see something's come up. Okay, that's just the thing. But thank you so much, everybody, for really taking the time out of your day, and to the Summit team as well.
Thank you all. Go well.
Thank you, guys.